let that thing do its thing. Because once you've worked out your numbers and you know it can sustain itself, then you can go, right, okay, I don't have to worry about that anymore, and then become an expert in another field. And you don't have to be an expert in everything, you just have to be an expert in a few that generate you enough money so that you can live off that. But yeah, like for myself, I'm in property, I'm into shares, I'm into obviously business, and then obviously alternative assets as well.
Any particular shares you could recommend the audience to go?
I would probably say and I was actually having this conversation today with someone, like literally start with an index fund. So start with some type of ETF structure. So an ETF is basically a basket of companies. Maybe that might be the S&P 500 or it might be the ASX 200. Start with what you know and buy those and start obviously putting money into those on a monthly basis. So either through Vanguard, iShares, BlackRock, any of those sort of companies have got these structures in place. Invest into those. My sort of favourites, I would say, is probably IVV, which is the broad-based S&P 500. Another one which is a really good one as well, which is accessible for Australians, is VGS. VGS basically, I think, is invested into about 3,500 companies. That's a very diversified portfolio, including like mega caps and small caps. And then another one I would probably say is maybe VEU. So VEU is basically everything outside of the US. And again, it's a Vanguard fund, so you can literally invest in those on a monthly basis, put your money into it a bit like a super setup, and like literally just invest your money and don't worry about it, just forget about it.
What's the percentage? You mentioned, 20%, you pay yourself 10%,
Yeah.
50% go to expenses.
20% goes into investment.
20%
Yeah, so 20% of income goes into investment.
Per month?
Per month, yeah.
Now, what's the most regrettable decision you've ever made towards trying to increase revenue in your business ventures and investments?
Probably saving myself rich as well. So it's the same thing. It comes back to trying to save yourself money. It's never going to work.
Yeah.
So finding those right people in the right positions and finding the right people to do them jobs, I would say that's probably my most regrettable thing. Like trying to save myself throughout that process has never worked.
What about any not so great partnerships? Have you always started a business yourself, or have you partnered with someone?
So I've had, prior to this business, I've had 2 businesses. One was with a partnership, one wasn't. The one with the partnership worked great. The one on my own didn't work so well. And again, it's because I'm trying to do everything myself, and you can't do everything yourself. Like you've got to be, like there's this fallacy of people that are successful within business, they're successful at every aspect of that, and that's not really how it works. Like you'll find that you're really good at certain things. Like for myself, my own journey, I really enjoy, I might not be the best at it, but I really enjoy developing people and training people. That's my passion. Not really the fact of selling stuff to people. It's more training people and developing them and seeing what they can become and building a culture around that within the business so that they can flourish within that environment. But yeah, trying to do everything yourself, it will never work.
I made a note that I think it's really gracious of you as a leader, of your business to go and pass on knowledge to your staff members and Specsavers.
Yeah.
To the people that have just joined you, joined the team, etc., etc. So, do you often give advice because people have asked you?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes. So I've got certain team members that like may come up to me and ask me for certain ideas, a bit like yourself, like sort of saying which stocks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't really like giving that type of information, but like that's just what I know, so that's what I'm invested in. So I wouldn't spruik something that I'm not invested in. So for myself, yeah, I would say it's stuff that I know and I'm comfortable talking about with people. Like on a regular basis, well, not on a regular basis, but for Christmas, for instance, it's sort of, I'll give them finance books, or I might give them like maybe send them a podcast to listen to or something like that, and just sort of try and spark their interest within finance, because a lot of young people don't really think about it until it's too late. And you've got too many responsibilities on your plate. Family comes along, kids come along, whatever it may be, and yeah, like people sort of forget about the investing side of it. And I think the earlier you start, the better you are later in life. And compounding is a magnificent thing.
Now, the biggest risk you ever took?
the biggest risk, I suppose, was buying my current business, because prior to us buying it, I didn't find this out until a couple of years into the purchase, after purchase, but they was actually going to close our business. And if we wouldn't have bought that business when we did, 3 months later it would have closed its doors forever. So yeah, that wasn't making any money, and that was a risk, because obviously at the time it was about $280,000 in debt, and we didn't know if we was going to be able to get out of that hole. It took us probably about 3 years or so, or maybe a little bit less than 3 years, to pay that off, and obviously start paying ourselves. But yeah, that was probably my biggest risk, but it was also my biggest reward as well.
The one business mistake that you'll never forget?
Biggest business mistake.
Like maybe head office said, try this plan, but you thought about something different.
Yeah.
But then it didn't pan out very well.
Business mistake. That's probably something that I've never really I don't really tend to dwell on stuff too much, to be honest. I'm not one of them people where it's sort of, stuff doesn't work out, just move on. Like, yeah, I mean, even in my current position that I'm in now, I've been offered other businesses, and then there's been times where I've been really, really interested in buying into another business, and the partnership doesn't really fit. But it's something that I'm really, really interested in buying into. And yeah, with those, I wouldn't say it's a regret as such, but I would say it's definitely something that I've sort of learned how to approach things differently. And I think it's probably my approach that sort of not made those partnerships move forward.
Yes.
So yeah, I wouldn't say it's biggest. No, it's different sort of stuff that people have sort of come to me about, and the partnership just wouldn't work. And I think that's probably, I wouldn't say there's one particular thing. I think again, it's just lessons from that, of knowing how to sort of gauge people and how to approach that partnership moving forward.
Are you comfortable? Are you one of these business owners, when you make assessments, that would like to know about figures and facts first? You know, like, could you inject $100,000 first, and then I give you shares of the company, and then we go from there? Or are you more like, I need to know who I'm working with? Can the person come and talk to you about, you know, how the idea came about, what concepts, where they like to take the business, what goals? So do you assess on figures? Like, is it important to you for them to let you know about facts and figures? Like, what money are you hoping to make?
Facts and figures are important. They're definitely important, because numbers don't lie. But I think partnership is the more important thing for me. So like, if I can actually work with this person and trust this person to move forward in that business, because numbers are numbers. So if you see the numbers and it makes sense financially, then obviously yes, you're always going to go ahead. But you can be in those situations, and the business might be making money, but if you're not happy with that partnership for whatever reason, then you're not really going to enjoy the process of it. So I would say partnership's more important than the actual business itself. It's whether the people are going to be able to work together.
Now, the best advice that you've ever received about money was what?
Best advice about money?